And we're back with more exciting adventures of the Incredible Hoax. I am Chris.
I am Mark.
We have a topic that you're going to have to explain because you kind of made this up on the fly. So, what's the topic?
Well,
don't tell the documentary thing.
Yeah.
You told me the whole story about the documentary that led to this. There was like 5 steps to get to this topic.
No. Now, we're going to do filmmakers or actors who we think are deserving of either a second chance or that they should be bigger than what they are. How's that?
Like a reboot, if you will, of their character, a reassessment?
Well, just artists we think that although they're famous, we wonder why they aren't bigger. Or maybe something happened and they deserve a second chance.
Movies too, or just the artist, just the actual actor or whatever themselves? Like a people, or can it be a movie as well that didn't kind of get up?
Yeah, I think if you want to do individuals or movies or franchises, I think it's all fair game.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not as prepared for this one as you are, so I'll let you lead the way with which one of your ones that you think should have got. We need to re-examine who didn't live up to it that you think should have.
Well, I think an actor who I think has always been a very good actor, and I think he should be bigger than what he is Guy Pearce. I just recently saw a movie of his again. I mean, it's not the first time I saw it, but Lockout. And I was really...
I've never seen that. I can't tell you how many times I went to go watch it and got distracted.
Yeah.
And never got to watch it.
Well, it's a good, fun sci-fi thriller.
It's like Escape from New York on a space station, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a Snake Plissken type of movie.
Okay.
And but he's very good at it. He's very funny. There's the action's there. But he's done all kinds of dramatic material too. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to L.A. Confidential, Memento. He's in the King's Speech. He's been in a lot of different films, but he's really done a lot of different genres and whatnot. Why he's not bigger, I really don't know.
And by bigger, do you mean like more Academy Award nominations, more box office appeal? What do you consider bigger?
Well, I guess a little bit of both. That he be more recognized in terms of his performances, in terms of acclaim, but also more opportunities to star and be in more A-list type of productions and whatnot.
Where he's
the lead and whatnot. I've never understood why those opportunities didn't really come. He's been kind of relegated to the role of character actor, and that's a role he's done really well. But I think he had the makings of a good starring actor as well.
Well, he has a look for it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not the best judge of what makes a guy my guy look good. I look good. You know what I mean? I have no idea what makes a male appealing. I'm totally don't have the eye for that. But he seems to me he has all the standard features of being a leading man. That there is something about character actors, though. I have a character actor for your list that's not near as photogenic, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It's almost like it's counterintuitive. You would think the best actors would be the leading men, and what happens to be leading men a lot of times who are leading men are sort of types, and they always just fill the type. The Rock is the Rock in every movie.
Yeah.
As sacrilegious as it may sound, even Jack Nicholson to some degree, he's kind of the same guy in every movie with different shades of it. Tom Cruise and Leonardo DiCaprio are kind of the same guy in every movie. They are a star and they play to that type. Schwarzenegger and Stallone, on these guys.
Yeah, hence the phrase "cast a type."
Yeah, they were the leads. They were the leads, and they're the stars. They're the ones above the title, but they don't necessarily have the biggest range, and then the guys with more range who you think should be the star, they end up being the character actor and being the villain or the sidekick,
right,
or whatever. It's the weirdest, most counterintuitive thing, but it's just the way it works out sometimes. Mm-hmm. Guy Pearce is one of those guys with this big broad range, ends up being the villain in Iron Man 3 or whatever it was, and ends up being the foil to Adam Sandler of all things and bedtime stories and things like that. My personal favorite Guy Pearce performance is the Rover. I love the Rover. Have you seen the Rover?
I have not. It's on my to-do list.
It's on Netflix. Here we go again with a Netflix issue. So anyway, we have a whole thing about streaming services. Look up the Rover. I'm sure you can get on in other services. Look up the Rover. It's fantastic. Fantastic movie. Great performance by Guy Pearce. Even better performance by Twilight Boy. What's his name? The vampire guy.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson's amazing. Amazing in the Rover. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, he's turned into quite the actor.
He's a hell of an actor. He's a hell of an actor. Can't wait to see his Batman.
Yes.
So that's a good movie. So Guy Pearce, I like that. I like that. He should be a bigger deal than he is. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm behind that.
Yeah. Because you could think of all kinds of, at least I can, of kind of movies like, oh, he would have been interesting in that role, or he would have been interesting in that role. And going back, and I mean, he's older now, but I mean, I still think there's some roles that he would still be. I think he's young enough that he could slide in quite comfortably. Yes.
Right. My guy, I would put on this list, and I don't know, I might get some, for all the ire of some people, but Steve Buscemi. I always thought he should have been a bigger deal than what he is. And yeah, I know he did Boardwalk Empire and he had some Emmys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've always loved Steve Buscemi. And he did quite a few things. He kind of worked around for years before Reservoir Dogs, and blew up Reservoir Dogs. He did some Coen Brothers stuff and things like that. And
sure.
He got in bed with the whole Adam Sandler. Here we are, Adam Sandler again. He did a lot of the he's like in every Adam Sandler movie, kind of his stable of people. But like, I like the quirky actor character. Billy Bob Thornton, Steve Buscemi's are like that's my favorite type of actors a lot of time. Right? I like that. I always dig those guys. Like Billy Bob Thornton, I literally can watch in any movie. And he has been a big deal. And I think he's gotten what he's.
Yeah,
think he's gotten.
He had that part where he was really big, and then
But he's still big with Fargo,
sure.
And then
Goliath,
with Goliath and all that stuff. He's still winning the awards.
Sure,
and he's very present. Buscemi kind of goes away, and then he doesn't do much. And I don't know if it's just a personal preference on his part or whatever. But like, I always thought Steve Buscemi should always be like boiling, kind of like one of those guys who's always like. In the kind of like the he's like the white Samuel L. Jackson. He should be like the white Samuel L. Jackson. He's always working, always present. Mm-hmm. Maybe not necessarily the lead, maybe not necessarily the second lead, but always present. Steve Buscemi should be a running character in the Marvel universe. You know what I mean? He should have that kind of presence to me. He's that good, and I think he's that interesting. But for whatever reason, that hasn't happened. Maybe he's a jerk in real life. I don't know. I don't know what he's like. I'm just talking about a fan. I don't know what he's like in real life. Who knows? He might be horrible on set. I have no idea. There are all these factors, but I don't think he ever. He should have been a bigger deal to me.
Yeah, I think Steve Buscemi is one of those actors that I've always enjoyed as a. Well, he's a character actor for the most part. That's been kind of how his career's been defined, and always been one of those actors I've really always enjoyed in whatever role he takes. When I see him, I'm like, oh, okay, good. I instantly relax when I see him on screen, because I know I'm in good hands.
Sure.
Wasn't he in that movie? Was it Death to Solon or?
The Death of Solon.
Yeah, and he
ended up being a.
He's quite good in that.
Khrushchev or something?
I believe so.
Yeah.
He's quite good in that. I remember when he was in a small part in Lonesome Dove. I mean, he's been around a long while, folks. Yeah. So he's one of those those actors. Just all my adult life, I've always liked him. He's a likable actor, and he always does something interesting on screen. So I like the choice.
Yeah, kind of like your Guy Pearce. Like I could have would have been a bigger deal. I know I didn't care for Boardwalk Empire, so I never really jumped on it. It was so slow, and I never could get on board the Boardwalk Empire whole thing. But that aside, they just never really caught on. But I guess people's argument could be, well, Boardwalk Empire was a big deal. he won a lot of Emmys and stuff for it. So maybe that was his thing, and I just missed out on it because I just thought the show was boring as hell. I couldn't get through that show. Anyway, I digress. Who's next on your?
Well, next on my list, this actor, this would follow maybe more in that second chance where his career was on the rise, and then his personal behavior kind of derailed his career for a while, and then he's kind of come back as largely a character actor. But Colin Farrell, his rise, he was on path to be, A-list for the next 20 years or whatever. And apparently he was difficult on sets. He picked fights on and off set. So this bad boy reputation, well, let's just face it, it derailed his career. He got passed over for a lot of opportunities. And then from everything I've observed over the last dozen years, he's been, seems like a model citizen as far as we know, and has just quietly gone about his business, turning in good performances, and had a solid career. But largely, I mean, you rarely have seen him as the star in a film. He's usually, and if he's in a big budget movie, he's usually like third, fourth star into it. Well, even like the Fantastic Beasts role that he did, he was not the star, but he played a major role. So you see a lot of that in his career of the last 12 years. But it's a shame because he has the talent to absolutely hold a franchise with whatever you can dream up. He can really, he has the look for action. He has the talent to do drama. The only thing we haven't seen him do a whole lot of is comedy. But I'll take 2 out of 3 on that one. I think he's a very talented and appealing actor, and I think Hollywood. It's like he's been punished enough for his younger immaturity. Let's let him have his moment again. Let's give him those opportunities.
I think that could segue into a movie that I think didn't get a fair shake, and I'll just take from there and I'll go into
Sure, go ahead.
Total Recall. The remake of Total Recall kicks ass. And I'm like the only person in the world that thinks that. But the remake he did of Total Recall with him and Bryan Cranston, and it was what's her name? Good gosh, I can see her face. She married Justin Timberlake.
Is it Jessica Biel?
Yeah, Jessica Biel, okay, and then the director's Underworld chick. She was the bad girl, I think. She ended up being the bad girl, and she was married to the director.
Oh, Kate Beckinsale?
Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah.
Like, that movie kicked ass. And that movie got a bad rap. I thought that movie kicked ass. That movie was I got the Blu-ray of it. Like, that movie was awesome. And they had, like, this amazing girl fight in it, where them two fought. And, the effects were on top. I mean, the effects were amazing. I just thought... And Cranston played a good bad guy, and it was effective as hell. I thought it was it took enough of a different take from the Schwarzenegger recall that it wasn't. I wasn't bothered by. Of course, Total Recall with Schwarzenegger wasn't like who was a purist on that movie? Oh my God, you can't remake that movie. I mean, it's a good movie, and it's in some respect, in the terms of Schwarzenegger, it's a classic. Sure. But outside of the Schwarzenegger world, it's not really a classic. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, why wasn't it fair game to be remade? I don't know. I thought the remake was hella good. But people just dismissed it, I think, just because it was a remake. And I don't think they watched it. And like, if you just watch the movie, man, that movie kicked ass. Yeah. It did not get a fair shake at all. That would be a movie I would say to give a second chance to.
Well, that movie, I was not particularly a fan of. I thought it kind of it followed too closely for me to the original. But but I don't want to step on your point. I just think there's a lot of work that Colin Farrell has done that deserves some revisiting. In Bruges was a terrific movie. And that really kind of began in many ways like his resurgence. After his reputation had been kind of tarnished, that was like the first movie of him in a way his comeback. in many ways. So that's a movie, if you haven't seen, definitely check out.
Well, he arrived with Tigerland, and Tigerland was fantastic.
Sure.
Tigerland's a great movie.
Sure.
Joel Schumacher,
Yes.
who just passed not that long ago.
Right.
It's a hidden gem of his, completely different than all the other Joel Schumacher movies. And it's actually, like, I think I've said it before. I'm not sure I've said it in the show, but I know I've said it before in conversation. Tigerland should be like required viewing for like teenagers. It's an amazing movie on leadership. And how Colin Farrell is this renegade rogue character, but he's actually the best leader out of all of them. He just slowly rises up the ranks.
Right.
It should be required viewing on
Right.
leadership training. But that's he. I always thought he's a hell of an actor. I've always dug him. When people jumped off the Colin Farrell bandwagon, I didn't get it. I was like, man, I'm still on it. I mean, I don't give a crap what he does in his personal life, and the sex tape and some crap like that.
But can you think of, it's been like a handful of actors that their bad boy image, whatever, really hurt their career.
Oh, Russell Crowe.
I mean, we know that it derailed Russell Crowe for a while. I mean, we expect Charlie Sheen, for heaven's sakes. That's his bad boy that's his image.
That's his shtick.
So that's his shtick, So no one was surprised when he, flamed out. But someone like Colin Farrell and Russell Crowe, you knew that was going to maybe have a hiccup in their career, but it shouldn't be one that really hurt them long term. Russell Crowe seems to have kind of kept going. It did hurt a little bit.
He's a guy that's turned into a character actor. We talked about it before. For some reason, he's turned from leading man now to character. Maybe it's because of age. I know he's not got the best physique in the world anymore.
Right. He likes the donuts. Yeah.
Him. Kind of another one is that could be on this list would be a Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
The Mummy. The first Mummy kicked ass, man. I was like, man, this is a leading man through and through.
Sure.
This is like our next guy, and it just kind of petered out.
And that's one of those actors that the audiences loved Brendan Fraser. So the world was his oyster to take. He just didn't seem to
I think
be that
best
interested.
script choices. I mean, like Bedazzled.
Well, true enough, but he by his own admission, I've seen in interviews where he had other offers to do more serious stuff, but he wanted to do fun stuff. And that's his choice. It wasn't a great resume, unfortunately, but certainly a likable actor.
Who else you got on this list here? This is interesting.
Well, let's see. You had mentioned the Wachowskis, the directors. I will say that after the Matrix, of course, it's one of the great films they've ever made. You had the disappointing sequels, but I liked Speed Racer. I think that's a solid movie because
you and three other guys like Speed Racer.
Well,
you're the very small minority.
But I'm a Christina Ricci fan, so there you go.
She could be on your list. What happened to her?
It's tough when you're like a child actress and you try to go into more mature roles. There's always the awkward.
Yeah,
and she's one of those. I don't know that Hollywood's ever been able to figure out what to do with her as an adult. So that's my comment on that.
Just speaking of that, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I think is just amazing, and he was amazing in 50-50. He was amazing in 500 Days of Summer.
Yes.
But he's been very quiet in the last few years, and I'm not really sure why that is. I don't know if he belongs on this list or not. But like he's got some Amazon straight to Amazon movie that's come out here. It's like, well, what happened to Joseph Gordon-Levitt? I mean, that guy was like on fire, and then it just sort of and it has to. I actually wonder. I'm probably stepping on your toes a little bit because you were introducing the Wachowski brothers, but it's a lot of work. Do they just get tired? I mean, I've worked on projects before, and I've had to step away from them and not do those kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean, we did Cowboy and Lucky for a year, and I think we took a year off at least before I wrote the movie that we did, because I was so sick of them. I was sick of them, And by the time people got to see it on TV, I was already sick of it. So by the time everybody else is starting to like it, I'm already done with it.
Yeah.
So do you think that happens where like Brendan Fraser works his ass off to do all these movies, and he's kind of and he's like, dude, I busted my ass and I only got an response. I'm done. I made a fortune doing the Mummy series. So I'm just gonna go home and just chill out.
Yeah.
You think that happens?
I know it does. I mean, there's a lot of famous TV stars who were on these shows for like 6 years, and they're like, it was #1 hit show, and you walked away. It's like, because they got tired. They were done.
Yeah.
Enough.
There's nothing else you can do with it.
It's like, I haven't seen my family in over 6 years. It's every day, every day, every day. That's 150 episodes. That's enough. That's plenty for syndication.
Andrew Lincoln with Walking
Yeah.
Dead. I mean, they had to rewrite it where he would just do these movies.
Yeah.
Instead of the series, because he's like, dude, I'm y'all are killing me with this shit.
Yeah.
You know.
So I mean, it happens.
So Wachowskis. I'm sorry, I stole your thunder a little bit.
Well, the Wachowskis. Well, they did The Matrix. It's great. It's one of the great films ever.
Yeah.
The sequel is disappointing. Speed Racer, I liked. I thought it was technically also an amazing film. I like to put it on to show like the editing. The editing, you know, if you're studying editing, I'm sorry, you watch Speed Racer. It's a wonder to behold, the editing on it. Anyway, after that though, they did Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending, and both these are very disappointing films. They've kind of seemed to lost their mojo. And so
lost more than their mojo.
Well, anyway, I'm hoping with Matrix 4, maybe this can restart them, because I think there's a lot of talent there. Because even in the films that were disappointing, like Cloud Atlas or Jupiter Ascending, you clearly had some talent, and it took some thought to come up with those ideas. So I'm hoping they can have a comeback, because I believe there's just too much talent for that to just go to waste. So I'm rooting for it.
They did V for Vendetta. Well, V for Vendetta was not their directorial movie, but we all know it was their movie. It was kind of like George Lucas. Well, yeah, he didn't direct Empire in Return, but they're George Lucas movies.
Yeah, it's credited to James McTeague, but whether he was...
You know damn well.
Whether that was in name
movie.
only, we don't really know. But
he was the director and probably working with the actors, but they controlled that production, I promise you.
That's certainly been the rumor. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I understand.
I consider that part of the Wachowski canon for sure. Anyway, they're good writers, and they started off as a screenwriting team actually. I think they did Assassins and some other movie. They were like script doctors.
Bound, of course.
Which they directed that one.
Yeah.
But I think they were like script doctors and stuff before they started getting their own stuff made.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. The first Matrix took some warming up for me to get, and now I love it. I really do. I do behold it as a classic. I actually not that long ago watched all 3 movies within the span of a couple weeks maybe.
Okay.
Just for some reason they were on Netflix, all 3 of them. I was like, oh, let me just check it out and revisit it. Number 1 holds up well. Good movie. Number 2, and I used to always think it was 1, 2, 3 in terms of how good they were. It went in order of 1, 2, 3. I don't hold that opinion anymore. I think 3 is better than 2. I used to think 3 was the worst, but watching it now, this many years later, 2 is so dull. It's such a dull movie for so long of stretches that you just totally check out. There's a whole fight on the staircase in The Matrix I completely just check out. That whole French guy thing, like 20-minute window out of the movie, I just completely just check out. And the third one plays more almost like a allegory about like leadership and different types of leadership in crisis situation. Where like the guy who's right is the guy that the movie portrays as like being wrong all the time.
Yeah,
and like you have this
general,
that general, like he's like they should have listened to him the entire time. And it gives Keanu absolutely nothing to do. Keanu in 2 and 3 has nothing to do but just stare and look solemn. That's all he does. That's who's Neo in 2 and 3. A solemn guy. He has no personality. He has no quirks. There's no breaking of tension. It's just you could get 2 shits. He's just there's nothing about Neo at all in 2 and 3. And I'm going on about those movies, but like my point is like I don't. They're really good at ideas, but I'm not sure that they're the best to follow through on them. Mm-hmm. It's like, are they better at just being writers and producers and let somebody else, take over and finish it? They've got great concepts, but they don't quite put it all together. Is that what's missing? Should they be a producing team? I mean, do they? Is there that guy that needs to come in and tell them no? Like Jimmy Johnson and Jerry, football analogy. Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones were great because they told each other no. Mm-hmm. And then when you take Jimmy Johnson out of the equation, what do you get? Well, you don't get Super Bowls anymore.
No.
So I mean, you need a no man. Do they just not have a no man? They got great ideas.
Yeah.
I know we don't. There's no way we can answer this.
Well, yeah, my suspicion is, you have success, you get more latitude to do and try things, and sometimes you do need to have someone to kind of edit you, not censor you, but edit.
Yeah.
And say, okay, that's too much. It's too much. We need it simpler.
Yeah.
And but so there is that constant push and pull of wanting to go original and brand new, but also at the same time not hit you with so many ideas that the main story or the main character gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And the Matrix sequels, to use your to go with that example, has so many different ideas. It gets all this peripheral characters it gets so interested in, but the audience never cares.
Never cares.
And so we don't know who these people are. So we never spend enough time. These are people you've never knew anything about, and they're introduced late in the game, especially like the third movie, and we're still getting to know characters from Zion, and you're like, why do we care? We have never seen this person, and I'm supposed to care that they. Yeah. Like, you don't want them to die, but it's like it's a total stranger dies, and you're supposed to like, this is really, that really hurt. Well, it doesn't, because I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Where's our heroes? And they spend so much time away from that. So anyway, careful editing could have helped there.
Yeah.
But then again, you wouldn't have had maybe two sequels. It would have just been one, and maybe that's where they should have done. Is like, hey, let's do one sequel. Then we'll worry about a third one down the road.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the wiser course of action, because then they could at least said, okay, what worked and what didn't, and fix it if need be. But you make movies back to back like that, you run that risk.
Yeah, and then the low energy.
But that's a whole other story about back to back movie making.
Well, I mean, I think the Wachowskis, I guess you can say brothers anymore. I'm not sure what's politically correct for them anymore. What do they prefer?
It's the Wachowskis is what they're called now.
The Wachowskis are just, they have talent. It's obvious they have talent. I mean, their movies look amazing. They obviously have a great skill set, a very deep skill set. But there's an ingredient missing. I'm not sure. I just don't know what it is. As we hypothesize, I'm not sure if it's a yes man, or they need a no man, or I'm not sure. Because they've gotten tons. They get budgets. They keep getting budgets.
Right.
I mean, Cloud Atlas and the other one, Jupiter, whatever it was called.
Yeah, Jupiter Ascending. Yeah.
Those were not cheap movies.
No, they had budgets. Yeah.
I mean, so
sure and had top talent. I mean, Tom Hanks was in Cloud Atlas, so I mean, you're drawing top talent.
So it's not for a lack of funding to see their visions through. I'm not sure they're really missing anymore. I don't know. Some people blow their wad. I mean, I've got a novel I'm working on, and I'll be honest with you, I'm done with those novels. I don't know if I have another great idea. But that's kind of like my great idea, and I totally can just blow my wad in that one novel. Mm-hmm. But I may not. I may once it's done, find the next thing that's cool. Yeah. I don't know, but you know what I mean. I understand the idea that you get stuck on an idea and you dwell on it, and then when you deliver it out, you haven't really formulated another one. I think that happened to Lucas with Star Wars. That's why his other stuff sucks. I mean, nobody cares about Willow and Strange Magic and all the other crap that he did.
Right.
Some people say they like Willow, but I mean, it's just like whatever. Nobody really cares about that stuff. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the Red Tails and all the other crap that he went and did. You know.
Well, I was thinking of an artist also where I've just totally lost what their name was. I'll think of it in a minute. I'm sorry. It was going to relate to what you just said.
About Willow?
No, an artist who...
No, Kilmer could be on this list. Joanne Wally Kilmer could be on this list. Frank Wally could be on this list. There's all kinds of them. They had a moment and they didn't quite... It just didn't jive for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Talking about writers and how like some get like stuck on an idea. Well, Tolkien had Middle Earth, and that was his thing. That wasn't like he wrote, but he had 30 other ideas. He wasn't like Stephen King who has like 100 different ideas. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that Stephen King is a worse or better writer. Well, no, not necessarily. It just means that
different.
It's very different. So that's all I'm trying to say is you could say the same thing about directors and writer-director teams and things like that. So, I mean, The Matrix was their baby, and it was a great movie,
Yeah.
And I still see some talent that they, in the last 15 years to 20 years.
Yeah.
After that, still, it's just they haven't put it all together yet. It may never come together, but that's the fun of this debate was us talking about people who we think deserving of a second chance or we think could be near a second chance.
Well, I think there's several franchises that didn't live up to all their potential. I can tell you, I can rattle 3 huge franchises that I don't think anybody can really say they really lived their potential. Alien, Terminator, and Predator. All 3, for that matter, even Robocop. All 4 did not live up to the original's expectations.
Sure.
And the banner that I mean,
Sure.
Alien and Aliens were fantastic.
Right.
Everything after that is mediocre at best.
Yes.
Predator 1 was fantastic.
Yes.
Everything after mediocre at best.
Right.
Robocop 1, my second favorite film of all time. Everything after, not even mediocre, just bad.
Right. Right.
What was the other one I mentioned? Terminator.
Oh,
First 2, fantastic, all-time classics. 3 and on, I mean, they keep misfiring on them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that happens to these friends. I'm not sure. I think the ideas are good, but they don't have the legs that they want to create for them. We were talking about before the show started. You and I both are huge Crocodile Dundee fans. You and I both have amazing, deep affection for the Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
2, and that one in L.A.
In L.A. Yeah.
I wanted in L.A. to reset that franchise.
Sure.
It'd be a big deal because I love Crocodile Dundee so much.
Yeah.
And I've always rooted for Paul Hogan.
Sure.
But it just didn't. So I think some of these ideas are just not. They're only good for those 2 shots or one shot. We want them to do more, but I just don't think they can. I'm just getting old. I just don't think that they were meant to. It was forced. They forced the issue to make them go beyond it. Predator was a one-shot deal, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, each you can kind of like have a different kind of perspective of what went wrong and what went right. I mean, Terminator, that franchise, I've always thought it was a mistake that they thought the franchise, that the story they're telling is we're a time travel franchise. And it's like, that's never... That's a trap. What are you doing? You don't have to not every story that in the Terminator franchise has to be time travel. I always thought that was a mistake, but they clearly have never agreed with me on that. They keep going to that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to change the timeline continuum. Like why? People are waiting for the big battle. That's what this has all been about. That's why fans keep going and get disappointed. They've been waiting for the big battle between the machines versus humans in the final battle. And you keep denying them that. Because there's no other story to tell. And they wonder why fans don't watch this other stuff.
Did you see Dark Fate?
Yes. And it's just them continually.
They went on a whole nother level of like, well, that timeline's gone now. That's a whole nother big battle.
Exactly.
You know?
So they just all they keep doing is changing what came before, timeline wise. But that's not what Terminator originally was. At least that's what was not what fans were expecting.
It's to me, there's a common theme. The show we just did, we did 2 shows. We did the best of 2011 to 2020, and now this one.
Yes.
To me, there's a common theme. Sometimes it's great to have artisan pizza. Sometimes it's great to try something new and left field and something you wouldn't expect and try it on your pizza. And every once in a while, that's amazing and you hit a home run. But day in, day out, 363 days of the year, just regular old cheese and pepperoni is just fine. And I think a lot of times with movies are a product. Sometimes if you just give people what they want, just meet the expectation, you come out way ahead. And when you overthink it and you try and subvert expectations.
Right.
That phrase that shall live in infamy. With our friend Rian Johnson or whatever his dumbass name is. I won't say his name correctly on purpose. Sometimes just delivering expectations is fine. Sometimes vanilla ice cream is just fine.
Sure.
Sometimes cheese and pepperoni is just fine.
Right.
And I think a lot of this list is they overthought it and they got too cute. And it derailed. It just derailed them.
Sure, I mean.
Yet again, my role of normalcy. Yet again.
Well, the Aliens franchise starts off. The first 2 are great. They're different movies, but they're great, and everyone's expecting. Okay, let's keep running with Marines versus aliens,
which is what everyone wants.
This is great. Let's do that. Let's kill these sons of guns. And what happens? Now we're going to scale back and do a prison movie, and you're going to know an hour in that Ripley is going to die, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then you screw up like, oh, we shouldn't have killed off the major character. Okay, how do we bring her back? And it's like, dude, once you screwed the pooch.
Can't put the genie back in the box.
And you can't put it back in. You screwed up, and so they've been trying for years to try to correct that. It's like, no, you ruined it. You ruined the moment. You ruined it.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes just delivering what people want is just fine. Like you said, the aliens. What we wanted to see ever since then was more Marines versus aliens. And they'll be damned if they'll deliver that.
Yeah.
And Ridley Scott takes over the thing. It's like I said in the other the other review. Maybe it was earlier in this review, or was it the other show we did? Ridley Scott be damned if he'll just deliver what we want. He's got to focus on all the things you don't give a shit about.
Yeah.
And make these new movies focus on the wrong things.
And he's like, well, I'm going to create all this mythology and this, that, and the other.
No one cares.
And it's like, no one cares
Aliens
about
versus
that.
Space Marines.
Plus, you've made it so convoluted, you can't possibly follow it. You know, if it had been a little bit of a backstory and it was very simple, you could accept that. But
like, did he watch Aliens? Did you even watch these movies?
Yeah.
Because you're not. Well, I think we saw the same movie. You're focused on all the wrong things.
Right.
There's not what we cared about.
Yeah, and yeah.
There's a beauty to Rocky. Rocky delivers.
Right.
Rocky movies deliver, and the ones that do deliver, look at the successful. The Rocky movies deliver. They know what they are, and they give it to you.
Right.
The Die Hard movies, for the most part, you know what they want, you know what they want the audience wants, and then they give it to you. And there's nothing wrong.
Well,
with
the
that.
most recent example of this in the last 13 years, of course, is the Marvel films. and critics seem to have a lot of fun, and lamenting where too many superhero movies are made and blah blah blah. And it's like, guys, at the end of the day, most of those films are quality entertainment and satisfy, which is, a lot better than leaving a beloved franchise and going, what in the world was that? It's a terrible feeling as a fan. Going, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the elephant in the room, Star Wars, is going to recover. I really don't.
It'll be up to the Mandalorian and those type things to do it.
If it's going to survive, is it going to be relegated to, like you say, these streaming shows? Will that be the thing that people kind of were okay with that, but we're not interested in the films? I don't know. I heard that they pushed back by a year this latest Star Wars films. I don't know what they're going to do that makes me get out of my chair into a car and goes to see it. Not after what you pull with this sequel trilogy. No. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Because you have nothing to sell me.
Right.
I don't know what you're going to sell me. You're not going to sell, I can't sell you nostalgia. Nope. You're done. No Luke, no Han, no Leia. I mean, okay. Well, then what else are you selling me? I don't know.
Right.
What Star Wars? Well, that isn't. We've learned that the title alone doesn't mean anything, because if you're giving us stuff like Last Jedi, no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, they really screwed it up with that one. Yeah. Curse him. I will never pronounce your name correctly, ever. He's on the list. He can't redeem himself. He cannot redeem himself. Rian Johnson can never redeem himself. He'll be on this list forever of the people that screwed up and couldn't. I don't know. Anyway, but I don't know, man. It's a great topic idea. Great topic idea. Things that we were fans of or are fans of that we wish could have been risen to greater heights.
Yeah.
Michael Chabino. You and I talked about him recently. Makes The Deer Hunter. He had written and directed the Thunderbolt Ninefoot. Oh my gosh, this guy's ready to just be a
that was a cool movie.
Tour de force. What does he do? Like I watched that. You and I both have seen it, and we're like, I don't know. That's the worst piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. So who knows? I mean, people, sometimes they only have so much in them. Sometimes they only have so much in them.
Yeah.
And they blow their wad. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Well, yeah, it's a shame. I remember. Escape from New York is one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
And the Snake Plissken character, great character. But it bothers me that the sequel was like, well, let's make a parody of Escape from New York. I'm like, why would you do that? And it was the people that actually made the first one making the parody of their film. So Escape from L.A. is always one of those movies I wish I could have caught them in pre-production. It's like, the tone's all wrong. First of all, this needs to get serious, like really quick. Anyway, I would have liked to have seen Snake Plissken get have a series of films, maybe 4 or 5 of adventures, and I think he was a character that could have sustained that.
Well, yeah, and also I think actors get a little older, and it's a lot of work. Making a movie is not easy. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Tom Hardy is Mad Max now and not Mel Gibson, because I think Mel Gibson even says, I couldn't have done that. I think he came out and said, Mel Gibson's 60-something flipping years old.
Right.
I think I saw an interview. He was like, I couldn't have done what Tom Hardy did. I mean, that's a lot of damn work. Mm-hmm. It's not physically possible.
Right.
Like it used to be. You just get older and you don't have the same. And you look at Bruce Willis. That's an actor that could be on this list. There's a part of his career he definitely was everything you wanted to be, but then in the later half it's like he quit or something. I mean, you could see it's like he's got to be the laziest damn movie star. I mean, like in Glass, you could tell they only shot him in close-ups for anything that was physical. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's injured, but if it's something his character is doing physical. It's in a close up for his face,
Right.
and then in a wider shot, you see he's got his hood up. You can you know it's a stunt double. So he's like, I guess he's like crazy lazy. I don't know. You know, he says 3 words in the whole movie. He just sits there, and it's like, I think he's just lazy.
I don't know.
Or just tired. Something's different. So there's a human equation to all this.
Sure.
I think.
Well, I hate to say it, but I get the impression he's there for the check.
Yeah, it's part of being lazy. Yeah.
And so, yeah, you'd like your stars to like care. You know, you can say what you want about Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise cares.
Bless his ass.
He cares about his performance, about the movie, and about the final product. You can just whatever you want to make fun with in regards to him, but when it comes to him and the filmmaker, that guy is all about quality, you know, and hard work. So
I'm a Tom Cruise fan. That's the guy who has lived up to it. Yeah, I know
he's
I know he's half nuts, but I don't care.
But you know, he's one of the all-time great stars.
He
like really is.
He's to me,
and he worked at it.
With the physical work that he does on the Mission Impossible movies, it's almost like he's a modern day Buster Keaton or like one of those guys. I mean, just so physically into the role, and doing these extreme things.
Sure.
Like, he's a modern Marvel, man. I mean, he's underappreciated. I think, personal life, I think he's a whack job, but just the movie star aspect,
right?
You know, I mean, he's fantastic. I mean,
but I was just using him to contrast to your point. You know, you compare him to the last 20 years of Bruce Willis' career. I mean, I don't see a guy doing a whole lot of working hard at their craft.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has never stopped. He continues to push himself to be the best version of himself he can be, and I admire that, and you should too, audience.
Well, speaking of people that are lazy and don't really work that hard at their craft, I do.